CIA polygraph versus Secret Service polygraph. Which one is more bizarre? Which one is harder? That's what I'm going to share with you today. My name is Jason Hanson. I'm a former CIA officer, and I've been polygraphed by the Secret Service, and I've been polygraphed by the CIA because I was offered jobs by both. So I was recently talking to a young man, and he said to me, hey, I'm really trying to get my top secret security clearance. I'm super nervous about the polygraph. Like, what can you tell me about polygraphs? So, like I said, I was polygraphed. Well, I've been polygraphed by 3 different agencies. The Secret Service, the CIA, and then my very first job out of college was with a local police department, and I was polygraphed by them. And that one actually wasn't that bad. But let's talk about CIA versus Secret Service. We're going to start with the Secret Service. So the Secret Service used 2 people to polygraph me. So in the room were 2 people. You go into this little white room. The walls are completely white. They obviously sit you down. They hook you up to the machine. They put the thing on your finger. They put the monitor across your chest, and you're fully hooked up. You're staring at this white wall, and you just start to lose your mind and hypnotize because it is completely white. There's nothing to stare at. So the Secret Service asked me questions such as, I'm trying to think, but they asked me more bizarre questions. So, hey, have you ever cheated on a girlfriend? Have you ever stolen anything? Have you ever had sex with an animal? Yes, they asked that. No, you probably didn't see that one coming. So they asked some more bizarre questions. Hey, have you ever lied, or, integrity type of questions. Are you working for a foreign government or whatever? Oh yeah, so one of the questions the Secret Service asked me is they said, hey, have you ever done drugs before? And I said no, because I've never done drugs in my life. Well, I can't remember if it was the man or the woman. They said, well, you're showing deceit. We know you're lying. And I said, no, I've never done drugs in my life. And they said, no, you're lying. It's showing up on the polygraph that you've done drugs. And they said, we're going to step out for 10 minutes and you think about, what answer you get or you're going to give us and if you really want this job. So they step out of the room for 10 minutes. I'm by myself in this room. I'm staring at the white wall, like hypnotizing myself again because it is so boring staring at a white wall, which is why they obviously do it. And after about 10 minutes, both Secret Service agents came back in the room and they said, all right, we're going to ask you this question again. And if you want this job, you better be 100% truthful. I said, okay. So they said, have you ever done drugs? And I said, no, I have not. And they said, well, you're showing deceit. And I said, well, I don't know because I've never done drugs in my life, so I have no idea what show it. And then they continued on with the rest of the polygraph. Now, I got offered a job from the Secret Service. I passed the polygraph. Later on, I found out that, of course, that is part of the game, meaning I did not show any signs of deception, that I was lying when I said I hadn't done drugs, that it showed that I was being truthful, but they try and rattle you. They pick on something where they try and mess you up. They want to see if you're going to admit to something because obviously most people have done drugs in their life, maybe in high school, maybe in college. So it was kind of hard for them to believe. So they try and rattle you on that, but everything came back positive. So I got the job with the Secret Service. So I will say the Secret Service polygraph, again, not unusual, but from the other polygraphs, had 2 people and then also asked that like weird question about have you ever had with an animal. So let's go to the CIA polygraph. Now the CIA polygraph, there was only one polygrapher in the room with me at I'll say at the time, but there was only one polygrapher in the room with me at all during the CIA polygraph. Now they asked such questions as, have you ever, are you working with a foreign government? Are you associating with any kind of organization that wants to overthrow the United States of America? Of course, my answers were no. Have you ever stolen anything before? Have you ever lied to somebody? That kind of stuff, a bunch of lifestyle questions. They asked me, something about having a debt problem. Obviously, the agency wants to make sure you're not deeply in debt, which makes you susceptible to a foreign intelligence service recruiting you. So, I said, I don't have any money problems. I don't have any debt problems. They asked about drinking. Are you a drinker? Do you have any alcohol problems and this and that? I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, so I don't drink at all. So I said, no, I don't drink at all. The CIA did not play any of that rattle stuff like the Secret Service did, meaning the CIA never came and said like, you're showing deceit on this. We're going to walk out for 10 minutes. CIA didn't play any games like that with me. It was a more straightforward polygraph. Again, a lot of questions about, are you working for, not specifically like, are you working for China, but, are you working for a foreign government? Do you have any like ill intentions trying to harm the United States of America? Questions like that. Obviously, I passed the CIA polygraph. I was only in there for 1 day. So I had buddies of mine that I worked with the agency.
And they were like, so how many days was your polygraph?
And I was like, no, I just went in for 1 day, several hours. And they're like, you didn't have to go back for a day 2? I was like, no, I was in day 1 and they told me I was good to go and they didn't need me to come back. So some people I know who did end up working for the agency had to to end up going to day 2 for a polygraph. But I was a one-dayer. So overall, when people ask me, hey, like, what's it like? Well, it's never fun. Nobody wants to be in a polygraph, even if you're 100% telling the truth. And then when this young man was asking me, hey, I'm worried about the polygraph, what should I do? The obvious answer is always tell the truth, no matter what. Always tell the truth. I believe it was Benjamin Franklin who said, honesty is the best policy. So if you're ever getting polygraphed, tell the truth. It's not that hard. If they're trying to rattle you like the Secret Service did, such as, I know you've done drugs and you've never done drugs in your life, clearly don't confess to something that you've never done before. Always be honest. It is that simple. So don't worry about the polygraph. They may play games with you. Yeah, they may not, but be honest, and you should hopefully get through it like I did, because I passed all my polygraphs. Okay, I am former CIA officer Jason Hanson. If you have any other questions about polygraphs that I can answer for you, let me know in the comments, and God bless you.